It's been a little while since I've done an update on this guitar, and there's a very good reason for that. I had to take a break from it and really think about what my options were, and the snag that I really ran into had to do with the neck. Now, I've gone over a few of the issues with the neck before, such as the frets. There's this awful gouge here. But the main issue with the neck actually didn't have to do with the frets or even the wood on the fretboard. It actually, unfortunately, had to do with the truss rod. Now you're going to see it looks very bad on there. And the reason it looks so bad is because the truss rod, the nut for the truss rod was stripped out so terribly that I could not turn the truss rod to adjust the tension. Unfortunately, the guitar had a pretty severe forward bow, even with pretty light gauge strings on it, and there was no way to utilize the truss rod. And I tried the biggest Allen key I could find, which is a 5mm, and that one was just a little too big. And the 4mm Allen key that is supposed to go with it, it was just stripped out so bad that I couldn't grab it. I even used one of the Stu Mac truss rod tools that are really meant for stripped out truss rods, and it was so far gone that even that didn't do the trick. So unfortunately, I was not able to do any adjustments for the truss rod, which led to a whole bunch of other issues such as bad intonation and severely high action, even with several shims. Fret buzz. I mean, there was just a lot going on with it that I couldn't adjust the truss rod for. So I took a break from it because I was getting pretty frustrated and didn't really quite know what the best solution was. And I briefly thought about maybe coming up with a way to remove the fretboard to get access to the truss rod and replace it. I tried several ways of trying to get better access to the truss rod, which unfortunately didn't pan out. And if I go any further, it's really going to be completely pointless, frankly. And, I thought about actually routing a channel on the back of the neck to get access to the truss rod so I didn't have to mess with the fretboard at all. And ultimately, I decided that although I probably could do all that, I'm really not set up for it. I don't have the right tool sets to try it, and rather than putting in all that work for something that might not pan out, it might be better to just get a new neck, which is what I opted to do. And I kind of went back and forth on this for several weeks until I finally pulled the trigger, and I found a neck on eBay of all places for about $40, and I decided to give it a shot. And if it doesn't look like it's gonna be worth putting in the effort to make it fit this guitar, I might just return it and pocket the $40 and find some other thing to do with this guitar body. But I figure for $40, let's give it a shot and see how it goes. So I actually got the neck the other day. I wanted to keep it indoors in the closet for a few days to let it adjust to the climate, because it had just come from China. And it's been a few days. It's kind of gone back and forth between being humid and not, but the temperature is pretty much evened out. Humidity, I think, is pretty much evened out. So I'm going to take it out of the box today and see what we have to work with. And it might need a lot of work. It might be totally unusable, or it might fit what we need exactly. I'm not going to know until I really take a look at it. So let's do that next. Now, to be fair, it does have a giant fragile sticker on it, but I can't assume that UPS in this case was actually reading that and treated this with any kind of care. Big dent over here, so hopefully it doesn't affect anything. But we'll open it up and see what we have, and hopefully it's not in too terrible condition. So I'm just going to cut around the tape lines here and see if we can't open this guy. See what we have. Okay, so first thing, I'm seeing some foam. Let's take this guy out. So there's some foam here. Looks like it's packed fairly well. Let's actually pull it out here. And again, if there's any damage, I can always return it. There's a pretty decent window I have, but it might be fine. It might need some work. We'll have to look. Alright, so Lovely foam. We're probably not really going to need that for our project, but it's good to see that there was some attention paid to how it's packed. Just going to stick that all back in there. One thing I noticed is I don't see any silica gel yet, which I was hoping there would be some in there to, again, take care of any humidity issues, but that's okay. For 40 bucks, we'll see. Some more tape here. Let's cut that as well. I'm just going to kind of peel it back a bit first. I don't want to cut any wood under there if there is any piece that's exposed. Okay, here, just kind of peel it off. Alright. Looks like there's a little note here. Okay, open this. And slowly slide that out. Oh, there you go. Hi, dear friend. Thank you for your purchase and trust. If you're not happy with the product, please don't open dispute case. Contact us in first time. We will solve problem for you in 24 hours. A little bit of a language barrier there, but appreciate the note. Again, that could just be a way of trying to stall people who are trying to get a refund. Truth be told, though, the neck doesn't look too bad. Now, I haven't checked the truss rod alignment or the frets to see if they're level, but it doesn't look too terrible. Sanding's pretty smooth. There's no finish on it, which I will get to in a little bit. And actually, something that I like about this, which I was a little concerned about, is that there are no holes drilled for the neck mounting screws, which I actually like because, Strat copies can differ slightly from model to model. And as long as the dimensions here are okay, so that it'll fit nice and snug, we can drill our own holes and make sure that they line up the way they need to. So that's actually a good thing. A little bit of figure on the side here, it looks like. So I don't know if that's really showing on camera. And this does look to be a, my finger oils are already getting on it, a rosewood-esque fretboard. I can't say that it's definitely rosewood, but it has that same kind of dark look to it. And the frets, honestly, if I run my finger along here, I don't feel any edges of the frets, so they actually seem to do a pretty good job of taking care of the fret ends, at least. It's pretty smooth on the side. I can still do a little bit of work here if I want to round off some of these corners like this. See, it almost has like a chisel tip on it. I don't know if that's really showing, but I can round off those sharp corners on each one. But that's not a big deal. Overall, though, I'm pretty impressed. This looks better than I thought it would. Now, again, I haven't checked to see if they're level yet. We are going to do that in a little bit. I am actually surprised that it comes with a nut, so that actually is nice as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to salvage that from the old guitar. I don't know if those nut slots are cut deep enough. It looks a little high to me. I don't know if you can really see that, but that looks pretty high to me. But we can always take care of that if we need to. So, yeah, and actually, if you look, hopefully we can get this angle, move this a bit. So if you look here, the slot is a little bit shallow on the back end towards the tuners. So I would actually want to have a little bit more of a decline there. Maybe you can take some of this material off as well. But the truss rod nut looks like it's in pretty good condition. It's routed pretty well. And tuning peg looks good. All the sanding looks to be done already. There's no sharp edges. Corners are rounded pretty well. There's a little bit of grain on this side, but here it's pretty smooth. Yeah, not bad. So, let me see what they did here. Yeah, not bad, honestly. It's definitely, a little chunk of wood missing here, but honestly, once it's on the guitar, you might not even really notice it. So, little spot here and there, but yeah, other than some slight chippage near parts of the guitar neck that you're not really going to see, doesn't look terrible. the grain on it, well, it's pretty straight actually, if you look. It's all vertical, so that's good. Just going to kind of visually inspect it to see. It doesn't look like there's a twist in it at all. It looks like actually there's a... Hard to say, but it almost looks like it's got a slight back bow to it right now, which would be great. Because on the other neck, unfortunately, even with no string tension, it was bowed forward pretty badly. I mean, with the straight edge resting on it, there's probably maybe a 0.5 millimeter gap between the straight edge and the fretboard at like the 9th or 10th fret. So it was pretty bad. This looks relatively good though. So yeah, I guess the next thing that we'll do is we'll actually go in and, well, first we'll actually get the neck to be dead flat, and then we'll actually check the fretwork as well to see if all the frets are level. They look to be pressed in pretty well. I don't see any that are popping up super high. Maybe one. Was that the 10th fret? Maybe the 10th fret a little bit, but it doesn't look bad. Let me see from this angle. Overall, pretty good. Inlays look pretty smooth. And yeah, all right. So let me get out a couple different tools, and we'll measure a few things and get some specs on this guy. So first thing I want to do is check the truss rod size. So I have my Groove Tech multi-tool, which actually comes in handy quite a bit. And I'm going to guess that this is probably a 4mm truss rod. So here's the 4mm Allen wrench. Yeah, that seems like it's probably a 4mm. So just to check that though, let's grab the 3/16. Yeah, no, that's a 4mm truss rod. So 4mm for that nut here. Hopefully that's showing up here. Camera's not great on this phone. Sorry about that. But yeah, the 4mm, which I have right here, fits in there just about right. So I can turn it this way or this way. So that's good. Let's see. Let's also grab the radius. It's probably something akin to a 9.5 or 9 3/4 radius. Let's find out. Alright, so here's the 9.5, and it actually looks to be a little flatter than a 9.5 on the looks of it. Let's see if it's a 10. Maybe it is a 10. 12. Ooh, it might be a 12. We're not 7.25. Yeah, right now it's looking like a 12-inch radius. Let's check that. I really doubt it's a 14. Yeah, 14 is too steep. So it looks like we have a 12-inch radius on this guy, which is pretty good, actually. A lot of my other guitars are also 12-inch, so that works. I'm fine with that. Not that you'll really, be able to tell a huge difference between them, but compatibility-wise, it's not the worst thing in the world. I have a fret rocker here as well, from the new Music Nomad tool set. So, yeah. We'll go into that in just a second because we have to make sure the neck is flat in the first place. But this little Music Nomad kit is pretty cool. Groove Tech kit also comes in handy a lot. I use that all the time on guitars. Speaking of Music Nomad, we have one more tool we're going to be using, which is the straight edge. And this will also help us determine what scale length we're looking at. It should be 25.5. So we're just going to confirm that. So using the 25.5 side, and at the first fret, and yep, that is 25.5. And it's rocking a little bit because there is a bit of a back bow. So let's actually adjust the truss rod slightly. See if we can relieve some of the tension there. We'll do a quarter turn to start. Give it a bit of time and see how it adjusts. Hopefully it adjusts. It's kind of the point of the truss rod, but I digress. In the meantime, so what I'm planning on doing with this, assuming this suits our needs, which I think it will, is I'll probably end up doing an oil finish on this, and specifically boiled linseed oil. And I'm going to be picking up some of the supplies for testing that methodology tomorrow. So might have a video at some point going through what process I'll be using. I got some good ideas from a few luthiers that I follow. And we'll see how that works out. But I'm planning on doing like a boiled linseed oil, doing a little bit of finish sanding the back a bit to profile it a bit more. I mean, it's sanded pretty smooth, but I can probably take it down a little bit further just to match my hand. Maybe we'll even do something with the headstock, maybe like a fun decal or something. Well, we'll think about that. It's not really necessary, but hey, why not? We have the raw wood here to work with. So there's that. And again, this is picking up my finger oils really, really quickly. Yeah, so far though, it looks pretty good.